Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Joe Martin, and we're continuing our series on people that have industries that have people that have misconceptions about. And before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to James. He's the owner of HVAC. He's got an HVAC company. It's called Vandy's. Okay, his last name's Vandergrift. A lot of people can't say that, so it's Vandy's HVAC. A guy coached in football back in the day, family man, doing an honest job, doing honest business every day. If you have trouble, it's going to get hot, it's going to get cold. That's your guy right there. But anyway, let's get to the show right now. So our guy we got today is Daniel Wright, and he works for Cutco Vector. And maybe you've heard about the knife sales. Maybe you've got a bad experience. Maybe you got a good. Maybe you don't know anything. But that's what we're going to break down today. So Daniel, thanks for coming on and showing us the real deal, man.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to share with everybody some of the truths to what we do and just how awesome that I believe that the opportunity that we have is for these young people.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. So when people do hear the Cutco or Vector marketing, what's the first thing they usually get wrong about you guys?
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you asking this and opening up a dialogue for us to talk about it. I think the main negative that people hear is your stereotypical, oh, it's a scam, it's a pyramid scheme, which totally fine. It's normally what, in my experience, that's just a buzzword that somebody heard somebody else say, and they're not super familiar with what that actually is. Not to be too technical, but if you look at like what a pyramid scheme is, well, there's no product. And of course, that kind of rules us out because we have a product. We have Cutco knives. Now, most of the time, what they're actually referring to is they're trying to say, by using that word, they're trying to say that it's multi-level marketing, network marketing in that realm. But we also don't fit that mold either. You're not paying to get started. We have a guaranteed rate of pay. Even if somebody doesn't make a sale, they're still compensated. And then you're not creating any type of a downline. Now, to really get to kind of the core of the issue there, I don't think that people are actually attacking like the shape of the organization. I think we've all heard, CEO, high level management, middle management. The shape of any high level executive organization is going to be very similar. And I don't think that's what they're attacking. Normally, what their perception actually is that they think that all the people at the top are the ones making all the money. And they think the ones that make up the bottom of the organization, our sales reps, are not making any or not making a lot of money. And to be honest with you, Joe, like that couldn't be further from the truth. My wife, she's a sales rep for us. She's at the bottom of the organization, essentially. And she does this as her full-time job. And we have an incredible sales representative opportunity, one that if you're in a career position as a sales rep that pays six figures on average. And man, there's a lot of people that don't realize this, but there's representatives in my office, even college and high school students at times, where their weekly paycheck is bigger than mine. And I think that's something important for people to know. So that's how I would answer that question.
There you go. Hey, setting the record straight. That's what this is all about. He's going to give you all the information. Then you make a decision. That's what it is. But he don't want you to have the misconceptions. That's what this is all about. So he's giving you the real truth right there. So let's take it back. How did you originally get involved? And then what made you stick around?
Yeah, man. So I went off to play baseball at the University of Memphis. I was battling a back injury, and I got hurt really bad the second time. I ended up actually stress fracture, breaking my back. And I had a friend introduce me to it because at the time I was looking to get some experience, but I was, playing baseball, full-time student, didn't really have the flexibility around classes to go get like a regular job. And so, I decided to give it a shot. And I had success early. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, which were not necessarily things that I had ever experienced when it came to work. And so I stuck it out through college to build my resume. Why get rid of a good thing was kind of my mentality. And then when it was time to graduate or get ready to graduate around COVID, I had some really good offers. It was interesting looking at the offers that I had compared to some of my teammates that didn't have, as much or any experience. And I felt like that the offers that I had were good, but I felt like that I was kind of settling a little bit. I knew I had a resume where I wasn't going to have to settle. And then, I guess in my mind, the thought was, all right, if I'm getting these offers because of my Cutco experience, probably I'm going to get more and better offers with more Cutco experience on the resume. So that's initially what led me to stick around. Then it turned into something a whole lot deeper as time developed, or as time went on and this thing developed. And for me, those of you that are from Huntsville that maybe knew me in high school, man, I was a freaking knucklehead, man. I was just running a million miles an hour in the wrong direction. And for me, my boss, my manager, Mark, who I've worked with since I was 18 years old, man, he just wrapped his arms around me. He saw me as who I could be, not as who I was. He poured belief in me. He spoke life over me. And so for me now, I just have so much confidence and belief in what this does for young people, when it comes to developing their skill set, their work ethic, pulling the potential out of them. And for me, I really try to be for these 18, 19, 20-year olds, whatever age, I try to be for them who I needed when I was that age, and this impact that it's had on me. So that's what's led me to stick around is just the fulfillment aspect of it. For me, it truly is not about making money. I could probably go make more money somewhere else, but it's the fulfillment that I get and the impact that I really feel like that we're going to have on this next generation of leaders here at Huntsville.
Hey, shout out to Mark, man. A lot of kids are like that. They're going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. If you can get them
Yeah,
pointed in the right direction, man, they can make a big difference. So that's cool that, hey, you
100%.
can tell them I used to be this guy. Man, we are all knuckles ahead in high school, man. Let's just admit it.
Yeah,
That's if you're not, then you're lying. So that's it. So,
right.
uh, I think that one of the misconceptions is, hey, it's just they're going to go sell knives to your family and friends. I mean, is that basically how you build your reps and you go from there? But that's kind of one of the misconceptions I've heard. What do you say about that?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's worth a little bit of a perspective shift. We do let them practice with friends and family in their initial network. And what's cool about that is that they get to choose who they're going to start out and who they're going to practice with. And we let everybody know in those practice appointments, we teach these representatives when they're reaching out, we make it a really relaxed environment. We let them know that this is for practice. We let them know, like they literally say, hey, Joe, you don't have to buy. I'm paid just to show it to you. And on top of all of that, the product's really expensive. So, my opinion is that after all of that, if somebody, friends, family, or otherwise do decide to buy, I feel like they really want the product because there's so many barriers that they have to overcome. Now, I want to explain a little bit more about the strategy behind that, and I think that'll help people to really understand. We have them start with training wheels essentially. And the first process of this is them focusing and learning on how to master the presentation, learning the information about the products, learning how to give the pitch. And they're doing it in an environment that's optimal for that because these first few practice appointments, the relationship is already there and it's already established. And so they can focus on mastering the actions. And I mean, man, people don't have that big of families, right? So very quickly, they're transitioning into referrals and they're networking their way into people that they don't know. But now they have the presentation down. And now they can focus on the actual skill set of the job and the art of selling with connecting with others, selling themselves, learning how to share goals, learning how to really build a rapport with the customer, because we all know that's what actually sells. And we built a really successful business over the last 76 years, almost 77 years in the next couple of weeks, through that strategy of kind of easing them in and then really letting them spread their wings.
Oh, man, those reps matter for sure. I don't care what you're in, reps matter. And role playing and things like that. You don't just go out and play a baseball game, right? You got to practice and
Right.
practice and practice, right? So the reps matter in any world, right? So I think people don't realize you're kind of similar to real estate and insurance in a few ways, but also different. How could you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the goal of either is whether you're insurance or whether you're real estate, or you could even fill in the blank with honestly any business when it's about building a book of business. But the goal is a few things. It's client acquisition and it's building a book of business to really simplify it and to make it generic. But I would say that it's identical to real estate, where our sales approach is very similar to theirs in the sense that it's less about selling and more about it's relationship focused. It's personality driven. It's all about making a friend, getting them tied into you. And that's what's really going to sell. And that's what's really going to separate in real estate, along with learning how to get referrals and that repeat business and that organic growth. Now, it's similar to insurance on the other side, where it's kind of an eat what you kill business in the sense of instead of making, 20, 30, however many larger transactions in a year like real estate, there's the consistent actions and there's the consistent sales and that consistent flow of smaller orders, so to speak, kind of like you would have in insurance. And it's easier to close a lot of those orders like it is in insurance, where there's a lot, and what I mean is there's a lot less follow up. It's a longer sales cycle in real estate where, a lot of the time for our guys, they're making phone calls today, booking an appointment for tomorrow, and then they're getting paid for that on Friday. So it's a pretty bang, 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 which, these students we work with, they like the instant gratification of it. But
Hey, I'm,
I'd
I'll
say the
get it, man.
ultimate, sorry about that. I'd say the ultimate
Mm.
it factors are the same in the sense that it's learning how to build a rapport, build a connection, sell yourself, learning how to solve problems, handle objections, and help somebody to take actions and do it with a high integrity approach. And then the last two things would be learning how to get referrals, build a book of business, drive that organic business growth, and then create the residual and those repeat orders. And man, I would argue that anybody that wants to go into a professional sales job, or like Mark Cuban says, you want to learn how to start a business, you learn how to sell. I think that they would benefit with us from a skill set and not more importantly, but as importantly, a resume standpoint.
Yeah, if you're in business, you got to make sales. Otherwise, you're not
Yeah.
in business anymore, right? So I don't care what you're in, you got to learn those. So that's a great for a young person to get their feet wet, like you said, and learn those sales tactics because they can serve them for life. I like you said, ethical sales too. That's what we're looking for. So I think another misconception is, hey, you either make no money or you get rich quick. What's the actual truth though?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people ask me that question, I think that there's two assumptions that aren't necessarily accurate in that question. Number one is I think there's an assumption in that is that every single person has the exact same goal going in, and that's not accurate. And the second assumption there is that everyone has the same amount of time that they're able and they're willing to put in to the job, right? Which those two factors are going to obviously impact the results and what somebody gets and what somebody makes. The reality, man, is that it's just like anything else. There's really three stages for all of our representatives. You've got your building stage where you're at a lower commission percentage, you've got less leads, you're not as good at the job. There's the middle stage where you're building momentum. You're at a solid commission percentage, you're making good income. And then the goal that we want everybody to be able to get to as quickly as possible is 30% commission or basically hitting like four promotions. That's where they're in a position to, if they put in the right actions, go and start earning $1,000 weekly. And what's cool is that we have an exact metric for that. It's 40 presentations, meeting with married homeowners over 30 that are going to get you to that. Someone that's really above average, like Daria that was on your show, she got to her $10,000 30% promotion in 13 appointments. So what I always tell people is that I know that it's going to take you 40 to get there. That's the average, but we have a lot of people that do get there in less. And it's entirely, what's cool about this is that it's really entirely up to the person on how quickly that they want to move from beginner to the middle to quote unquote the top, just because it's dependent on how quickly they want to get those appointments completed. We know that you're X amount of appointments away from whatever goal that you have for yourself. And so the last thing I would say is that, to keep in mind, each person's going to get out of this just like anything, what they put into it. And to reiterate, we know that if you're meeting with a married homeowner over 30, we know over the last 77 years that you're going to generate a sale 65% of the time. And that's a national average, not even our high performers. And so we know that 40 presentations is going to equal $10,000 sold.
Well, there you go. Got it down to a science right there, right? And she
Yeah.
is definitely above average in all that she does. So she is definitely she ain't average. Nothing about her is average.
Nothing about her. She's
Yeah,
incredible.
but she is. She is gonna go get her. I'm gonna see if I can work for her one day. So hopefully I work for her. So, but I mean, you mentioned you work with young people. I think that's a great role you're filling right there. What's something they're gonna learn that's not they're not gonna be taught in school and it's gonna serve them for a long term?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I mean, to be completely honest with you, Joe, I think this is the thing that I'm the most excited about when it comes to our job is man, I'm such a firm believer that these other opportunities and these jobs that are out there for students, I don't think that there's anything for an 18 to 22 to 23-year-old that they could be doing that's going to grow them more personally, professionally, or financially. There's different things that they're going to work, and I think having a job is good. And I don't talk as if this is, talk down on those, but I just feel like when it comes to a growth perspective, that there's really nothing better. And this is why USA Today rated us as one of the top 12 companies in the United States to work for, is because our people, they're so well trained. They learn how to present themselves. They learn how to truly connect and talk to anybody, which we've seen such a regression in that skill set since COVID. When you take the human connection out of
Sure.
school and they were all on Zoom for those couple of years, they're learning how to work a schedule, right? Maybe the students in your life aren't procrastinators. I've learned that a lot of them are. So learning how to actually work a schedule, how to maximize their time. They're going to learn how to share their goals, how to really sell themselves. They're going to learn how to network. They learn how to take complete ownership and responsibility for their actions and for the results that come from those. And I think that bleeds over into everyday life. I love that they learn how to get told no. They learn how to face adversity. They learn how to fight through that. They learn how to work hard. And most importantly, they learn that if they apply those things to anything, they're going to learn how to win. And that bleeds over into everything that you're going to do, regardless of if it's business, your marriage, relationship with friends or family or whatever. It's those things.
That's it. Yeah, it's a big thing it's you talked about the personal skills really regressing, but also, resiliency has gone way down amongst kids. That's a big thing today that they're just not resilient. Once something bad happens, they kind of fall apart. So this is teaching them, hey, no, it's okay. It's all right. It's a part of life, and you're that much closer to the next yes. So that's a great skill. I mean, that's so many skills across the board that you're right. They need to learn those for life. So maybe people are listening right now. They're like, all right, you told me all this sounds good. What's the catch? How would you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, man, when we talk about like there being a catch, I really don't feel like there is one. But what I say to people is that the catch is the catch, where there's so much flexibility and there's so much freedom, where if you're not willing to, manage your emotions, if you're not willing to put in the work, if you're not willing to persist, or at least be coachable and be willing to grow in those areas, then this probably isn't for you, and I get the saying, or I've heard the saying that, all right, Daniel, if, sales works or if this thing's works, why isn't everybody doing it? It's like, well, man, the gym works too, but look around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to put in the work for sure. I mean, it's not easy. What you're saying is pretty simple, but it ain't easy. That's for sure.
Funny,
Especially
I
person
literally
to be
wrote
able
that
to.
down in my notes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you gotta process. Hey, you guys give them the blueprint, but the blueprint
Yeah.
ain't easy. That's for sure. So, where do you think a lot of these negative connotations come from?
I really feel like that in Huntsville, that opinion is shifting. I mean, you can only do something the right way with high integrity for so long before people really start to take notice. And just like Zaria is a great example, and a lot of the people that we've worked with from James Clemens, there's just too much evidence of success out there. But, to answer your question, man, I think most people just don't know. I think they don't have that firsthand experience with the position. I think they read about somebody somewhere who went to an interview one time and didn't work here and then, wrote something negative on Reddit. But for as many of those that you'll find, there's just as many positive testimonials online too. But what we've seen is normally, the reviews or whatever, like people don't go online to write about how great it is. You know what I mean? Normally it's the latter. But here's what I think. I think that the job is out of your comfort zone. I think it takes hard work. I think it takes self-discipline. I think it takes a willingness to accept challenge. And just like anything else worth having. And then you factor in the emotional toll of that, plus dealing with some rejection, plus having to get yourself motivated to put in the actions consistently in order to see consistent results. And man, I think that there's not even just with Cutco, but I think there's a lot of people that when they're in that type of situation, they give up and they wave the white flag. We also work with a lot of young people, and maybe the college students in your life, they're great at ownership and they're phenomenal with accountability, but what I've noticed over the last 10 years working with 1,000 plus students is that there's a lot of them that maybe that area could use a little bit of work. And so I think they shift some of that blame our way versus, maybe taking ownership of, okay, I didn't do this the right way. I didn't follow instruction. Maybe could have put a little bit more effort and action into it. But ma'am, I am a true believer that if anybody comes in and they're excited to learn, they're excited to grow, and that's their mentality, and they're willing to see this thing through, I'm a firm believer that I can have help anybody to have success. And if that's their attitude and if that's the way that they're going to approach this thing.
There you go. There you go. Like I said, you got the blueprint if you're willing to follow it. So that's good. I mean, you kind of answered this a lot. I just want to bring it back around though. You've had success in this field for so long. You could do this a lot of other places. Why stick around?
Yeah, man. To kind of reiterate what I talked about earlier, it's really two reasons. Number one is I believe in our mission. I believe in what we do here. I believe in what we teach our students. And man, I think that we can all agree, especially our business owners in this area, the path that we were all taught, go to college, take out a loan, get a safe, steady job. I believe that that's not the best path for everybody. I'd even go so far as to say that that model's broken at worst, and it needs some serious work at best. And I think there's never been a better opportunity, especially in today's day and age, to learn how to sell, to learn how to market yourself, how to build connections with people, these entrepreneurial it factors. And just like some of our big name alumni, I think you're going to see some people that are going to take what we teach here in Huntsville and run with it and go and build some really exciting businesses. So that's number one is I really believe in the mission and the heart behind what we're doing here. And I think the thing that people need to understand is that it's not about selling knives. This is just a vehicle to take people from where they are to where they want to be. It's a growth incubator. It's a success incubator. And now the second reason that I'm still here is that, man, I believe in our company and I believe in our product. There's a few things that make us unique. You probably, if anybody's read any type of business book, they hear you talk about the three P's. So products, programs, and people. And we've got incredible people. I've never seen a culture like this anywhere else. I mean, six of the people that were in my wedding were from this company. I've got people that they reach out to me. They care about me. They care about our people. And if you have ever been around me or my team, like I feel like you realize that. Secondly is the product, and not just the product and it being super high quality, but just like what made Tesla unique, just like what made Apple unique, it's that end-to-end control. We own the manufacturer. We own the sales arm. We work directly with the customers. There's nobody else involved at any point in the process, and I really believe in that. And then the last thing is programs. We hire students with zero sales experience. We develop and we promote leaders with zero outside hiring. And from all of these programs, we've literally built a $300 million a year organization and I just think the resources and the training, the support, it's so unique and it's so special that you can take this group of people that have never sold anything and develop them at such a high level that, I've been here for 10 years. My boss has been here for 27. Our CEO has been here for 47 years. And they all started out selling Cutco when they were in college and they know the business forwards and backwards. And I think that's so unique. I don't think you find that in a lot of places. So those are the couple of the reasons on why I've stuck around this long and why I'll continue to stick around and retire with this company.
Well, that'll do it right there. It's covered across the boards right there. And people may have said some bad things over the years. They never talk about the product. I've never heard someone, well, they have terrible knives too. Man, those knives are legit. I don't know if you've ever seen the Cutco, but they're legit. So, and I didn't know about the other piece. So thanks for filling me in on that, man. So the next section, maybe the most stressful part, it's the rapid fire section. Are you prepared?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So this rapid fire is going to be brought to you by the Huntsville Hub, a brand new sponsor. They were sponsored back in the day, and they're back. We're so glad to have them back. So Kelly Andrews over there, she's got the networking space, co-working space over there. If you need some office space, that's your place, man. The most affordable place in town. So you focus on your business, and they'll handle the rest. For the rapid fire, what's the hardest objection you ever had to overcome?
I think when it comes to my job of, building a sales team, it's that they think that it's not real, honestly, so they're kind of coming in and I'm having to kind of play defense and earn the trust. On the knife side of things, you get the stereotypical, got to talk to my husband, right? You get the stereotypical, we already have knives. So I would say those two things. And then the way that we overcome that is we have a 30-day trial to where essentially the husband really just wants to see and feel it to begin with. We also are going to give him an incredible deal for taking action that day, which is ultimately what the husband wants. And we operate from this place when we're handling any objection, which is that we know what they don't yet on both fronts, that they're going to love it. They're going to use it for forever. They're going to have it for decades. And it's going to be a staple piece in their kitchen for years and years and years to come. It's an heirloom product that they can pass down. And like you mentioned, everybody loves the product. Cutco's incredible. So that's kind of the place that we operate from when we're handling any objection.
Dude, that they're my age, they just want to cut a can like the old Ginsu knife commercials. That's all they want to do. So you have a brand new rep coming in. What's the best advice you give them on day one?
Man, the best advice that I would give somebody is that repetition is the mother of all mastery. And in order to grow, you're going to have to take a step outside of your comfort zone. And I think that learning how to take a step out of that comfort zone and I think allowing yourself to be bad at it long enough to get good at it, I think that's where a lot of people maybe in the past have jumped ship or not seen it through, where if they would have just gotten through that beginning phase of their business, they get to the other side of it and start having the tremendous success that we've talked about.
That's so important. You got to be terrible to be great, right? So,
That's right.
what's the best advice you've ever been given? I mean, you've had a lot of mentors over the years. What's the best advice?
Yeah, the best advice from a sales manager standpoint is two things. I'd say number one is be curious first and critical second. So a lot of the time, if someone, I think that you have to operate under the assumption that most people want to do well, they want to work hard, they want to perform. And if they're not, I think it's worth being curious. And normally, a lot of the time, there's something going on. And I think it creates a beautiful space for them to be able to open up, which further ties them into you and builds that relationship. And then I think the second thing I've read that, and I've heard that, good managers, they manage patterns, right? So we've got our team meeting tonight, and I'm sure somebody is going to be late. And, if they are always on time, but this one time they're late, it's not worth biting their head off. That's not their pattern. Now, if little Johnny, this is this fourth or fifth time in a row being late, then at that point it's like, all right, let's challenge him to be better. Let's say something. But I think if everybody implemented those two things, I think you'd see increase in your culture, your buy-in, and the overall performance from your team.
There you go. That's good. So, what's one you work with the young people, right? What's one thing they need to learn a little bit faster? They're kind of lagging on.
Man, just stepping out of the comfort zone, and I think that's everybody, not just young people. And I
Sure.
think that if people would develop and hone in and buy into that skill set of, and it's an art, it's a skill set of taking a step out of the comfort zone, understanding that a lot of the worries or the fears that they have aren't necessarily going to come true. Our brain's primary purpose is survival and preservation. And so understanding that the worst case scenario is probably not going to happen. But yeah, man, stepping out of the comfort zone, leaning in, and understanding too that the most beautiful, the most amazing things in life are never going to be accomplished in your comfort zone. So learning how to operate outside of that and learn how to grow and lean into it, I think that bleeds over into every area.
Sure. That's absolutely right. So we like to close on a couple things. First, what can our podcast community do for you to help?
Man, just encourage the high school senior, encourage the college freshman in your life to come check out this podcast, to come interview with us, come talk to us, and encourage them to do something different this summer. Encourage them to lean into growing themselves personally, professionally, and financially. We've got big goals as an organization this summer. We want to impact a lot of people, and I believe that you won't recognize your student if they spend a summer with us. I think they're going to grow so much and be better off for it.
Excellent. Yeah. So people listen, how can they find you on social media, website, contact, all that good stuff?
Yeah, man. Honestly, reach out to me on Instagram. Danny Knife Guy is my username. And then you can check out our website, hsvstudentwork.com. But yeah, give me a follow, shoot me a message. I'd love to chat with you.
Awesome. Yeah. Appreciate you coming on the show, man, and clearing up some of the things that people talk about, but maybe they don't necessarily know about. So that's what we want to have you on. You did a great job filling us in on that. Appreciate the time, man. Keep going out there and keep growing those young people out there.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And you're listening right now. Please share this episode. Some student needs to meet, he needs to meet Danny the knife guy. Start off with that. That's how students want to get him introduced. And then also, please introduce them to our sponsors. The HVAC company, Vandy's HVAC, they need you. Huntsville Hub, go over there, get you some office space. And then our partner on the newsletter side, Homely Huntsville, they're doing a great job spreading the word about jobs and news coming events and homes and all kind of stuff. So check them out. We'll all link all this stuff in show notes. Appreciate you guys listening and watching. We'll see you guys next week on the Huntsville Hustle podcast.